For as long as Isabella can remember, she has always dreamed of having her own house with land, even if that land only cost a penny, but where she could plant gooseberries and have chickens in the barn. As her 30th birthday approached, she finally decided to make her dream come true and shared her plans with her husband, Jonas. He just shrugged his shoulders and said, "Well, do whatever you want." After a pause, she added, "Just don't involve me in your adventures without money. If I can manage it on my own, fine, otherwise, don't count on me." Isabella expected her husband's support. After all, he is the director of a construction company, with a much higher salary than hers. She had helped him when his mother needed urgent treatment at the border, but now, for some reason, the money was not available, and Isabella did not ask where he had gone. They had lived together for a long time under the same roof, but not as spouses, and finding out where the money came from and how it would affect the relationship would not change the current situation, which worked for both of them. Finally, Isabella found a decent house, not in the suburbs, but within the city limits, in an old but cozy, well-kept neighborhood with a huge garden full of fruit trees, the perfect place for a naturalist like her. Of course, the house would need some repairs, but the main thing was that it had a structure. As a designer in the construction industry for many years, she was ready to quickly transform the place into something modern. Interestingly, she worked at the same company where Jonas was a director. In different buildings and over many years of work, Isabella had never come across Jonas. They met at a corporate party in honor of the company's anniversary, where all departments gathered in the hall of a rented restaurant. On the same day, Ivan Fedorovich and Alexandra Petrovna celebrated 30 years of marriage. They decided to celebrate at home with their family, and only remembered their birthday because their daughter Alyonka insisted on organizing a banquet. She intrigued her parents with a special gift. When everyone gathered at the table, the young woman stood up with a glass of wine and, handing them a folder with documents and a key, simply said, "Congratulations." Alexandra began to read the documents in the folder, and when she looked up at her husband, they were full of tears. "Vanya, Vanechka, this is our house, you see. The house and land are in our names. Thank you, daughter." They celebrated their birthday with great joy. Isabella, upon returning home, no longer saw how her parents reread the documents for the 100th time, planning to visit the new house the next morning, unable to believe that her dream had come true. A few days later, Jonas stopped by. He sometimes visited his parents. While having tea with his mother, Jonas casually mentioned his father-in-law's birthday, his mother-in-law's birthday, and the gift he had given his wife. Jonas's mother immediately thought that it would also be good for her and her husband to move into a small house and rent the apartment on the 4th floor, as they could live comfortably on the rent money. She knew that working for others she wouldn't get what she wanted, but she realized that she could fool her daughter-in-law, who was simple and generous. Her mother-in-law was facing a serious illness and needed an urgent operation abroad, with time running against her. If Isabella didn't help her financially, her conscience would torment her for the rest of her life for not saving a life. Jonas quickly realized his mother's intentions and did not give her a cent. However, naive Isabella ended up financing her in-laws' wonderful vacation in Europe, where they visited several countries and returned rested and happy. Now, Isabella's mother-in-law started planning how to get the house for herself, already envisioning transforming the space into a paid parking lot for cars, which would cost less than parking in the city center. She was confident that with this approach, her business would prosper quickly without delays in her plans. The next day, the mother-in-law was ready to put everything into practice. The mother-in-law went to Isabella's work at night, hoping to find her at home, but as she couldn't, she decided to wait in the office lobby. Impatiently, she shifted from one foot to the other, eager for Isabella to be called. As soon as she appeared at the checkpoint, the mother-in-law wasted no time. Without even saying goodbye, the mother-in-law started talking quickly, as if she had forgotten that Isabella was there for work. "I came here to sort out what you decided to do with the house you bought for your parents," said the mother-in-law, bluntly. "My husband and I need more fresh air, you know I'm sick. So give me the keys, we'll be moving tomorrow. Before we continue, I need to tell you something amazing. Do you want to attract a lot of money into your life? Learn how to do it with the secret content that I will leave in the first pinned comment, and start transforming your financial life." Let's continue. Isabella was stunned. She didn't know if her mother-in-law was being incredibly arrogant or simply naive enough to believe she could take over the house like that. She remembered a previous conversation in which Jonas had suggested that Isabella not let herself be carried away by her mother's manipulations, and that she not regret the money already spent, which, unfortunately, she would not be able to recover. "It was a lesson," he said, "and the lost finances you planned to use to buy your parents' house will now be the price of that lesson." Despite the disappointment, Isabella decided not to give up on her plans. With a calm smile, she replied to her mother-in-law, "I don't have the key with me. It's there, under the carpet, in the usual place." The mother-in-law, immersed in her own plans. Once she decided to attack, nothing would stop her. Perhaps the husband had been stronger in his youth, but now, what was left was only submission to a cunning woman, with a fertile imagination and the ability to achieve everything she planned, although at what cost, he preferred not to imagine. When they arrived, the mother-in-law told her husband to stop the car and get out. As she observed the place, with her hands on her sides, she noticed that the fence and gates were new, probably the work of her in-laws. "That won't be bad," she thought, "spending money here is worth it." Already planning to put barbed wire on top of the fence to turn the place into a parking lot, she checked if the gate was open and, when she pushed it, she prepared to enter the yard and make space so that her husband could also enter with the car. However, she was stunned by what she saw. I observed the situation in the backyard, where the husband, who was behind the wheel, without waiting for the gate to open, got out of the car and followed his wife. They found themselves side by side, with expressions of surprise and disappointment at the same time. After raising money to make their dream come true and receiving a gift from their daughter, they decided to use their savings on the project's land. After all, there's no need to spend money on a designer. The family has an entire yard free of trees and flowers, but it was filled with construction materials and workers in hard hats and orange overalls. Only the walls of the old house bought by the daughter remained while workers dismantled the old roof. Ivan Fedorovich noticed the unexpected visitors, was delighted and rushed to meet them. Jonas's parents never tried to be happy with him, so the visit made him very happy, although a little surprised. "Hello, my dears," he exclaimed with a smile beaming with happiness. "I'm so happy to see you, so happy you're here. Look at our construction site, come in, come in. I'll call Shura now, she's here." I saw what was happening in the yard. The husband, who was sitting at the wheel, without waiting for the gate to open, got out of the car and followed his wife, and they stood next to each other with their eyes open in surprise and disappointment at the same time. They themselves raised money for their dream, and having received such a gift from their daughter, they decided to spend their savings on the land for the arrangement, especially since it is not necessary to spend money on a designer. The family has an entire yard free of trees and flowers. It was busy with construction materials everywhere, with workers in hard hats and orange overalls. And of the old house that was bought by the girl, only the walls remained. At the time, the matchmakers. In came the yard workers who were finishing dismantling the old roof. Ivan Fedorovich noticed the unexpected guests, was delighted and hurried to meet them. Jonah's parents never tried to be happy with him, so this visit made the man very happy, although of course it surprised him a little. "Hello, my dears," a radiant smile of happiness flashed. "I'm glad to see you, very glad to have arrived. Look at our construction site. Come in, I'll call Shura now, she's there." The garden, with the landscapers, well, the little man spoke very well, finally, he barely learned landscape design. "You see what a gift my daughter gave us, and as a daughter-in-law she is also affectionate. I know a little about what she said. You don't mind and even flew abroad for treatment," said Ivan Fedorovich, turning to the matchmaker. He continued, "I see that you are now in full health, not sick, flourishing." Beautiful woman, started to shower with compliments. "Ah, well, I'm not hospitable, I will refrain from baking in the sun. Let's go to the trailer, I will treat you to a cold compote from my own garden." The fruits for the jam were already picked at the right time, the purchase took place. The cherries were ripe, the currants were on their way. Ivan Fedorovich didn't stop talking until we reached the trailer, and the matchmaker followed him, stumbling and disgusted, walking or stepping on fallen building materials. She was upset because I was only a few days late. It's not a shame to visit them more often, then I would have discovered the gifts sooner. And now that even if we kick out the matchmakers and the workers, they will get a dilapidated house to live in, with no money for capital construction either. And the son, he wouldn't do anything if he found out that his mother was playing tricks again. He didn't care. Yes, she did. The tricks even bothered his parents and his wife, but this whole situation would have brought problems to his measured life, and he really didn't like it. He tried in every way to get around the unabandoned guests. The only thing left was to sit on a bench near the trailer, where the workers were changing clothes, drink cold compote and listen in frustration to the matchmaker's stories about how wonderfully they are renovating everything here. That reptile Alyanka now understands why she didn't resist when I demanded the key and the address, the mother-in-law thought irritably, and the husband was happy because he felt sorry for the matchmakers, sincere and a little naive people. What kind of jam did the matchmaker prepare on Sunday to go fishing? And that his relatives, after all, and he is apparently a world-class man. Did you like today's story? Then leave your like, subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell. By doing this, you will not miss the next story.